Yeah, so nevertheless, on the live, um, the video dropped. So this is just part two of what I was talking about, and I was just gonna get into what actually I was going through and what made me grab a hold of the plow. I was, contemplating it. I had been looking at the videos for over a year. Mainly GMS, and I ran into one of the brothers REI at its job. I was taking care of some business, and lo and behold, he was one of the persons that worked there. So I'm like, wow, you look familiar. And he was like, I said, and I kept looking at him. I'm like, are you Israelite? And he like, yeah. And then he started smiling, and so I said, yeah, brother, I watch you, watch your videos. And I, gave him a brief, you know, breakdown of my life, what I've been going through or whatnot. And he was like, "Well, you clean yourself up and you come on down to the Western." Because I told him, I like, man, I was selling weed and I was growing and selling weed because Esau let you grow weed here, and that's why I was living off of that for 20 years, growing and selling weed. And so I told him, I said, man, I stopped doing that. And I went and got me a job, and I said I still got a problem with smoking though, and whatnot. And he was like, well, when you stop smoking, then you come on, you come on down there, come on down to the camp. And so I remember it was a couple of events that happened, and so I was, putting off stopping the smoking. I was still smoking, dibbling, dabbling, smoking and whatnot. And I wasn't selling, but I was still smoking. So nevertheless, this one in particular day, I go to Popeyes on my break, and I get some food, and this sodomite manager wouldn't give me a bigger drink. And I wound up going off on him, you know what I'm saying? Just going off on him, calling him a bunch of, sissies and everything, whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? And um so when I went back to my car, I thought about it. I said, man, why you do that? You shouldn't have did that, because they got you on camera, threatening this guy and calling him out his name. This you doing a hate crime. They could really get you for a hate crime. You know what I'm saying? And they could really press, if they wanted to press you, they could make an example out of you. You know what I'm saying? I said, why you do that? And I felt, I was in fear for a couple of days, like, man, I hope you don't report me to the police. You know what I'm saying? Because it blew up. Because he got smart, I got smart, he got smart again, I got smarter, and by me knowing the truth, and I'm dealing with this side of mine, I'm really enraged. Like, I'm really enraged, like, because I know what he is. You know what I'm saying? So nevertheless, well, I call him a sodomite because he had that character, you know what I'm saying? He talked like a female and pranced around like a female, and it is what it is. So nevertheless, that thing happened. And then a couple of days later, I went to this pawn shop and to play on I had a guitar in the pawn shop, and I went to go pay on it. I actually was probably trying to get it out. And and I went there, and the lady wouldn't let me use my debit card, and when I gave her my debit card, I just dropped it into the little slot. And so she kind of like threw it back, threw it at me. And I wasn't really doing it to hurt her in no type of way or trying to, but I guess that's how she took it. So me and her got into this little altercation and whatnot. And then, so I left, I left without the guitar, I left without even paying, and on my way home, a guy from the pawn shop called me. And he's like, "Hey man, you got into it with one of my employees." I said, "Yeah, man, she was acting all nasty." And so he proceeded to say something smart. And I go, then it's my turn. I say something smart. We going back and forth, and then it reached to like, oh yeah, if you come up here, you gonna really see it. You gonna really get it. And this now, I was like, and then it went. He telling that to me. I said, well, I got a CCW too. You gonna get it too. It went to that, like talking about gunplay. You know what I'm saying? I got a CPL too, but it could really go down. What you talking about? So it went there. And then I say, man, you threatening me with I say, you threatened me. And he threatened me first with the gun, with gunplay, right? And I reacted. And I said, you know what? I said, I should call and tell the fucking police on you. You threatened me with a fucking gun. And then, so I left it at that. We both got off the phone. So I'm laying down in my bed and, trying to go to sleep. And, he, my phone ring. I look, it's the police, Roseville police. I'm like, damn, what the fuck that? I knew automatically knew what happened. So the guy, police officer, get on the phone and he asked me what happened. I tell him what happened. And I tell him, I said, yeah, he threatened me with a gun. And I just replied with him like, well, I got a CPL too. You know what I'm saying? And then, so I said, you could get I said, I'm quite sure their phone calls are recorded. You could get their phone calls. So the guy actually took what I said I was gonna do to him, and he did it to me. You know what I'm saying? That's how wicked Jake is, man. A wicked ass fucking nigga Jake. You know what I'm saying? Which really made inflame me. You know what I'm saying? I'm mad. You know. So then after I resolved the thing on, I resolved it with the police. You know, the law enforcement. I resolved it. It was no problem. And he was like, just don't go there no more. I'm like, cool. I ain't gotta go there no more. You know. So nevertheless, um, that after I got the phone, that's when I made my decision. I said, man, like, you know, it's like the Lord trying to show me something, man, or Satan is trying to sift me. You know what I'm saying? So I got on my knees and I said my prayer, and that's when I made the decision. Like, man, I'm about to go. You know, I'm about to stop smoking this damn weed. You know, and I stopped smoking, cleaned myself up. I think I stopped smoking for maybe a couple of months. Yeah, because that was in the wintertime. That was like in February, I would think. January, February is in the wintertime. And that summer, or that May, I went to the camp. You know, so I cleaned myself up there in a few months. Well, so it would be like January, February, March, April, May. So I cleaned myself up for like 5 months. No smoking, no weed, nothing, no smoking, no weed, just going to work. You know what I'm saying? No weed smoking. Um, Cleaned myself up and made my way to the camp. You know what I'm saying? And got on the line. You know what I'm saying? Went to what's that place called? Hobby Lobby. Went and got me some material, made me a garment. You know, was got me some fringes and a border of blue. Went in my basement and I remember I made the garment right before I went to camp. You know what I'm saying? I used a hot glue gun, you know, because I was in a rush. I was like, I could just glue it with a hot glue gun. Hey, but it's still together after a couple of years, you know, being in rain, sleet, snow, all type of and it's still together, you know. And I've been thinking about lately, I'm gonna make me another garment. So Lord willing, you know, I make one for this if we you know, if we still here, you know. For next season, for the next summer, you know, I'll probably try to make me another one or whatnot. But nevertheless, that's the end of the video. I would like to say, hey, yeah, man, hey, hey, this is a precious thing to be involved in, and we should treat it as such, man. You know, you can't just sit up here and spew that type of shit out of your mouth. No, that's wrong, and that's why we gotta you know, rebuke these niggas that come up with these type of offenses against the truth, man. You know, against the orders, you know. So nevertheless, I'd like to say all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders, apostles of GMS who rule well and taught us the truth, and shalom to the whole family.